It started quietly, almost as if it were nothing more than a curious anomaly, an observation that no one had expected to be important. But beneath the surface of this quiet discovery, something monumental was stirring, something that would shake the very foundations of the galactic community. Earth, a seemingly inconspicuous planet in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, was classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. At first glance, Earth didn't appear to be anything extraordinary. It was a mid-sized planet orbiting a fairly ordinary star in a quiet corner of the universe. It had breathable air, abundant liquid water, and a diverse range of life forms. In short, it seemed like any other habitable world that could support sentient life. But that was before the full scope of its ecosystem was analyzed. Earth's classification as a Class 13 Deathworld wasn't based on any single aspect, but on the extraordinary danger that every element of its ecosystem posed to any species that called it home. The initial readings came from an automated probe sent by the Galactic Survey Fleet. It had been dispatched to examine the planet as part of an intergalactic project to catalog and classify habitable worlds. The probe sensors picked up something unexpected, an unusually high level of biological activity. At first, it seemed like just another planet with a complicated food chain. But as the data continued to pour in, the scientists noticed something disturbing. The scientists noticed how happy the people were to be on the planet. The planet wasn't just teeming with life. The life forms seemed designed, by some unseen hand of evolution, to kill each other. A Class 13 Deathworld wasn't just a planet with dangerous predators. It was a world where every single organism, plant or animal, had evolved to be a potential killer. From the towering clawed predators roaming the land to the seemingly benign plants that could sting, burn, or poison anything that came too close. Earth's ecosystem was nothing short of hostile. On top of that, Earth's climate was volatile. Violent storms, wild temperature fluctuations, and unpredictable weather patterns were an everyday occurrence, making survival on the planet even more difficult. What baffled the galactic scientists wasn't just the level of threat, but the fact that one species, humans, had somehow managed to survive and even thrive on this world. In a universe where most sentient species had evolved in more stable, less perilous environments, humanity was an anomaly. The humans, despite being one of the younger species in the galaxy, had somehow managed to not only survive, but dominate their deadly planet. They had developed tools, built civilizations, and harnessed energy from the very environment that sought to destroy them. It defied all logic. As the data was processed and the extent of Earth's danger became clearer, the implications began to unfold. Most Deathworlds were considered to be uninhabitable by any form of intelligent life. The toxic atmosphere, the extreme conditions, or the aggressive predators made survival impossible for any species that wasn't already naturally adapted to it. Earth, however, was different. It wasn't just that humanity had endured. They had learned to use the planet's dangers to their advantage. They had become masters of their environment, turning its hostile nature into a challenge to be conquered rather than a threat to be avoided. The implications were staggering. No one had ever seen a species evolve to such an extent in such a harsh, unforgiving world. It wasn't just about survival, it was about thriving. Earth's status as a Class 13 Deathworld wasn't just a scientific curiosity, it was a wake-up call to the rest of the galaxy. The galaxy was filled with powerful, ancient species, some of which had flourished for millennia, yet here was a species from a Deathworld, a planet where most life forms wouldn't last a year, and they had somehow gained mastery over it. It wasn't just the toughness of humanity that left the intergalactic community rattled. It was their ingenuity, their ability to adapt, to overcome, and to evolve in ways no one had expected. This discovery would set off a chain of events that would change everything. The question that hung over the heads of every scientist, diplomat, and strategist was simple. What did humanity want? They had survived one of the deadliest worlds in the galaxy. If they could conquer their planet, could they conquer the stars as well? Would they become allies, or would they challenge the balance of power across the galaxy? It was a question that would haunt the minds of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy for years to come. As the data continued to be processed, the true enormity of Earth's classification began to sink in. A Class 13 Deathworld wasn't just a scientific classification, it was a revelation. For centuries, galactic civilizations had mapped the cosmos, cataloging planets with varying degrees of habitability, from peaceful garden worlds to toxic hellscapes where no life could survive. The lower-numbered death worlds, those that ranked from Class 1 to Class 5, were hazardous in the way most galaxies were used to. Inhospitable but not impossible to endure. Class 6 to Class 10 worlds were much more perilous, often home to deadly wildlife, extreme climates, or volatile weather patterns that made life extremely difficult. But a Class 13 death world, such as Earth, was something no one had ever encountered before. To the more academic minds, the concept of a death world was rooted in an ecosystem's extreme adaptability to adversity. But Earth took this to an entirely new level. Not only had its biosphere evolved under conditions so savage that no other species could hope to survive, but it had also given rise to a species, humanity, that could against all odds thrive in such an environment. This wasn't just about biological survival, it was about a species' resilience, an intelligence that had found ways to adapt and reshape even the most hostile of environments to their will. At first, many in the galactic scientific community had shrugged off the discovery. After all, Earth was still a relatively primitive planet in terms of technology. Their cities were small, their space travel rudimentary compared to the more established species of the galaxy. But as the data continued to come in, a startling realization emerged. Humanity had developed tools and technologies that should have been impossible to achieve, given the constant threat of their environment. How had they managed to craft intricate machinery, construct vast metropolises, and develop technologies that bridged vast distances in the cosmos? The more they studied Earth, the clearer it became that this planet's ecosystem had forged a species unlike any other. The uniqueness of this discovery was both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. Galaxies had witnessed the rise and fall of many civilizations, but few had developed in such an extreme crucible. Most of the galaxy's sentient species had evolved in controlled environments, planets that weren't constantly threatening their survival. The majority of these species had developed in ecologies that allowed for gradual technological progress and cultural expansion. On Earth, however, humanity had survived by fighting for every inch of ground it gained. Their rise was not just a matter of biology, but an act of willpower and innovation in the face of constant death. This created a split in the galactic community. Some saw the potential in humanity. The idea that a species could rise from the ashes of a Class 13 death world, build civilizations, and create technology was, in many ways, inspiring. These voices argued that humanity's resilience and innovation could be invaluable to the galaxy. After all, if they could survive and thrive on a planet like Earth, surely they could bring new insights into overcoming the many challenges faced by other worlds. Famine, disease, and natural disasters, to name a few. In a way, humanity's ingenuity was a form of advanced problem-solving, developed under pressure. They had learned not just to survive, but to innovate in ways that other species could learn from. And then, however, not everyone shared the same optimism. For others, classification as a Class 13 death world was a clear warning sign. A species that had survived such extreme conditions might have developed a mentality of constant struggle and competition, a mentality that could prove dangerous in the broader galactic context. If humans could survive a world so deadly, what might they do once they encountered worlds that weren't as unforgiving? How would humanity behave when they were no longer constrained by a dangerous environment? when they were free to explore, to expand, to conquer? Would they bring their relentless survivalism to the stars? This question loomed large over the debates in the Galactic Council. Some argued for the immediate isolation of Earth, fearing that humanity's expansion into galactic affairs could upset the delicate balance of power. After all, many species had spent millennia establishing their place in the galactic hierarchy. What would humanity's rise mean for their dominance? Others, however, believed that it was better to engage with the humans, to bring them into the fold as quickly as possible before they developed into a force too powerful to ignore or control. In their minds, humanity's survival was less about their ability to adapt to their environment and more about their potential to alter the balance of the galaxy. As the debate intensified, one thing was certain: Earth was no longer just a curiosity. It was a planet whose existence posed a fundamental challenge to the way the galaxy viewed itself. No longer could the galactic community simply ignore Earth. They would have to decide how to deal with this unpredictable, dangerous, and highly resilient species, and whether they were ready for the potential consequences of Earth's rise. The uncertainty surrounding humanity's future would cast a long shadow over intergalactic diplomacy, leaving many to wonder, what would humanity do next, and how would they shape the future of the galaxy? The discovery of Earth's Class 13 Deathworld status threw the Galactic Council into disarray, with divisions forming almost immediately. For the first time in centuries, the normally harmonious intergalactic body found itself split. The Council had seen countless planets, countless species, but none had ever sparked such a mix of awe and fear. Earth was unlike anything anyone had encountered before. The data was undeniable. This tiny, distant planet was home to a species that had evolved in an ecosystem designed to eliminate any form of weakness. Its environment was harsh beyond belief, its predators terrifying, and yet humanity not only survived, but had thrived, even expanded into space. Some factions within the Galactic Council saw the potential in humanity. These were the idealists, those who believed that the galaxy could benefit from the ingenuity and resilience of Earth's inhabitants. If humanity had overcome such extreme conditions on their homeworld, perhaps they could help other species do the same. Many races in the galaxy struggled with challenges that, while not as deadly as Earth's ecosystem, still required extraordinary problem-solving and resourcefulness. Humanity's ability to turn adversity into a tool for growth was something that could be shared across the stars. Technology born from the drive to survive in the harshest conditions might prove invaluable to other civilizations, especially in terms of engineering, medicine, and defense against natural disasters or war. This faction believed that Earth's place in the galaxy should not be defined by the threats it faced, but by the potential it represented. They argued that humanity, despite its relatively primitive technological stage compared to other galactic civilizations, had the potential to contribute ideas and advancements that could reshape galactic society. The idea of incorporating humanity into the galactic community was enticing. They could learn from the more advanced civilizations, integrate into a peaceful and prosperous galactic network, and perhaps even offer something unique in return. But not all were so optimistic. The opposing factions within the Council viewed humanity's survival with suspicion. There was a fear, rooted in history, that a species which had developed under such extreme conditions might carry a mentality of competition, survivalism, and unchecked expansion. Earth had proven that it could survive the deadly forces of its own world, but what would it do once it had the power to shape the galaxy? There was no guarantee that humanity would be content to simply coexist with other species. If anything, their history on Earth suggested the opposite. When humanity faced a challenge, it didn't shy away from it. It confronted it, fought back, and sometimes even conquered. Some feared that Earth's evolution in a hostile environment had hardened the human psyche, cultivating a race that valued survival above all else, possibly even at the expense of others. What would happen if humanity expanded beyond its borders, across the galaxy, seeking to dominate or claim new territories, just as it had done on Earth? Could a species that had survived on constant struggle and competition ever accept a system based on interspecies cooperation? In the Galactic Council chambers, debates grew more heated. Some argued for immediate diplomatic engagement with humanity, hoping that they could integrate the humans into galactic politics peacefully. The hope was that humanity's resilience and resourcefulness could be channeled for the greater good. Others, however, called for caution, if not outright quarantine. The idea of letting a species from a Class 13 Deathworld spread throughout the galaxy was a risk too great to ignore. What if humanity's ambition outstripped their capacity for peace? If they could overcome a death trap of a planet, what would stop them from turning their attention to the stars? The fear was that humanity might view the galaxy as yet another challenge to conquer. The most cautious factions began to propose isolating Earth, or at least placing severe restrictions on its access to intergalactic affairs. Some wanted to keep humanity at arm's length until they understood exactly how the human psyche, tempered by centuries of living on such a deadly world, might evolve in a more stable environment. Could they remain peaceful, or would the same aggressive instincts that had helped them survive on Earth be brought to bear on the greater galactic community? For the first time in recorded history, an entire planet was the subject of such intense scrutiny. Its status as a Class 13 Deathworld was no longer a mere scientific curiosity. It had become a political and existential question. What humanity did next, how they responded to their newfound classification and the divided reactions of the galaxy, would shape the future of interstellar relations for centuries to come. The galaxy, once certain in its order and hierarchy, now had to reckon with the unpredictable, highly resilient species that had emerged from the most dangerous world known to any civilization. And no one knew for sure what humanity would do with its newfound power. Would they be allies, or would they be the galaxy's greatest threat? The arrival of the first intergalactic delegation on Earth was a momentous event, one that humanity had never truly anticipated, even in their most imaginative speculations. For centuries, Earth had been a backwater planet, a distant world far removed from the bustling centers of galactic trade and politics. But now, with their newfound status as a Class 13 Deathworld, the very idea of first contact with extraterrestrial beings was no longer a fantasy. When the alien ships descended upon the dry, dusty plains of Nevada, humanity was left in a state of both awe and trepidation. The first sign that something extraordinary was unfolding came with the sheer scale of the visitors' arrival. The ships weren't merely small crafts. There were dozens of them, massive and graceful, gleaming like silent beacons against the desert horizon. The ships' hulls shimmered with unfamiliar metals, their shapes angular and sleek in ways that defied human engineering. The alien presence wasn't subtle, it was undeniable and impossible to ignore. News spread quickly, and humanity's collective pulse quickened, knowing that the future of Earth and its place in the galaxy was about to change irrevocably. The initial contact was peaceful. A delegation made up of representatives from various species arrived, each distinct in appearance and demeanor. There were the Draka, towering insectoid beings whose mandibles clicked in an almost rhythmic pattern, and the Silthar, sleek aquatic life forms whose bodies seemed to shimmer with iridescent scales. A few other races, some humanoid, some less so, joined the group, all speaking in various languages through universal translation devices. Yet, despite their technological advancements, their eyes gleamed with something more than just curiosity. They were fascinated, and perhaps a little nervous. The delegation's representatives were not quite sure what to expect from Earth's inhabitants. They had studied the planet's ecosystem and sent drones to monitor human activity, but now, standing face to face with humanity's first leaders, they were unsure of how things would unfold. What kind of species was humanity? Would they be aggressive? Hostile? Would they greet the visitors with the same survivalist mentality that had shaped their evolution? To the aliens' surprise, humanity's reaction was not one of immediate aggression. Earth's leaders, cautiously optimistic yet wary, welcomed the alien presence with a mix of wonder and practical curiosity. The humans did not rush to make alliances or strike deals. Instead, they extended the hand of cooperation, offering to show the visitors around their world. While their weapons were certainly at hand, humanity, after all, had long been accustomed to defending itself from threats. There was no immediate push to escalate the situation. Instead, humans approached the encounter with a genuine desire to learn from the aliens, to understand their technology, their culture, and their place in the galactic tapestry. But the aliens were not entirely comfortable. Despite the surface-level friendliness, something in the humans' eyes, an unspoken wariness perhaps, or a kind of guarded openness, made them uneasy. The delegation quickly realized that the humans, while seemingly docile, were far more complex than they first assumed. There was an underlying intensity to their curiosity, a hunger for knowledge and advancement that went beyond what the visitors were prepared for. Humanity had always been a species defined by its struggle against a brutal environment. Earth was a death trap, and humans had survived by being resourceful, by adapting quickly, and above all, by never backing down from a challenge. In this way, their approach to the alien visitors was not one of awe or submission, but of cautious engagement, testing the waters before diving into anything more substantive. They asked questions, not just about technology, but about philosophy, about the nature of the galaxy itself. The human delegation, scientists, diplomats, and military representatives, watched the aliens with the same quiet calculation they had once reserved for predators back on Earth. They were quick to offer knowledge, but they were just as quick to observe. In the days that followed, the first exchange of information was more cautious than anticipated. The aliens demonstrated their advanced technologies, showing the humans a glimpse of what was possible with faster-than-light travel, advanced medical techniques, and energy systems that made humanity's current technological output looked like primitive toys. In return, humanity shared their own innovations, how they had learned to create sustainable ecosystems in cities, how they had developed rudimentary space travel, and, perhaps most fascinating of all, how they had survived a Class 13 Deathworld. What struck the aliens most was how quickly humanity adapted to their technology. It wasn't just that the humans were fast learners, though that was part of it. It was the fact that they seemed to grasp alien concepts that had taken other species millennia to perfect, within weeks. Where other species might have been overwhelmed by the complexity of advanced technologies, humanity seemed to take it in stride, improving upon it, building upon it in ways that left the visitors astonished. The humans' response was simple. They wanted to understand. They wanted to know everything, not only for their own benefit, but for the benefit of all life on Earth. But something about this drive unnerved the alien delegation. The more they observed, the more they realized that the human capacity for survival, their drive to outpace the galaxy's other civilizations, was something unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was as if humanity, having conquered the most extreme world in the galaxy, was now setting its sights on something far more ambitious: the stars themselves. The initial contact, while peaceful, planted the seeds of uncertainty. Could the galactic community truly allow a species that had so thoroughly mastered survival on a Class 13 Deathworld to simply join the ranks of peaceful intergalactic citizens? Or was humanity a new kind of force in the galaxy, one whose hunger for knowledge and perhaps power could one day overshadow even the most powerful galactic empires? As the first days of contact unfolded, humanity stood at a crossroads. They had learned the hard way how to survive. As the initial wave of excitement over the first intergalactic contact began to settle, Earth's leaders faced the heavy weight of a new and complex reality. The alien delegation, while offering a polite and cautious exchange of information, had left Earth with more questions than answers. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer a theoretical concept. It was an immediate, pressing concern. Every decision made from this point onward would shape the future of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. On Earth, the mood was mixed. There was undeniable fascination with the alien technologies and the possibilities they presented. Humanity had already begun to see glimpses of what was achievable: faster-than-light travel, medical advancements that could cure diseases that had plagued them for centuries, and energy systems that could end their reliance on fossil fuels. The possibilities were staggering, but beneath the excitement lay a deep-seated anxiety. The Council's visit had not been solely benevolent. The aliens had come to Earth with their own agenda, one that was far from clear. Earth's diplomats, faced with the growing pressure of their newfound status, convened in an emergency meeting. They were aware that the galaxy was watching, waiting for any sign of how humanity would react to this new phase of existence. Would Earth prove to be a valuable ally to the galactic community, or would it prove to be a volatile new force in the galaxy? The weight of that question pressed heavily on their shoulders. In private discussions, it became clear that Earth's leaders were divided on the path forward. Some argued for immediate integration into the galactic fold, believing that humanity could learn from the advanced species around them. They saw this as an opportunity to advance further than they could have on their own, to share in the galactic knowledge that had accumulated over millennia. In their view, the galaxy was vast and full of opportunities. Humanity could bring something unique: its unyielding spirit of survival, its creativity, and its ability to adapt in ways no other species had. They wanted Earth to join the Council, to become part of the Intergalactic Community that had stood the test of time. But there were others who felt that humanity needed to proceed with extreme caution. These individuals feared that the galaxy was not a place of cooperation and goodwill, but one of power plays and delicate balances. Earth, they argued, was far too young and unpredictable to join such a fragile system. Humanity's history of conquest, both on Earth and beyond, made them a potential threat to the galactic order. They pointed to humanity's drive for survival, which had been honed on Earth's deadly surface, and feared that it would manifest in a desire for expansion, dominance, and conflict. What would happen when humanity learned that it could fight for resources on a galactic scale? What would happen when the first Earth fleet set its sights on another world, one that wasn't so forgiving as their own? The Galactic Council itself, still reeling from the implications of Earth's Class 13 Deathworld status, had grown increasingly divided. Some factions called for immediate action, believing that humanity's potential could be harnessed for good, while others argued that the potential risks of Earth's inclusion were too great to ignore. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy faced the prospect of a new force, one not defined by the ancient power structures that had held sway for millennia. As Earth's diplomats prepared for their next round of negotiations with the galactic powers, the specter of conflict loomed. It wasn't just a matter of whether humanity would join the Council. It was a matter of how the galaxy would respond to a species that had evolved to be resilient, adaptable, and fiercely independent. The questions were mounting, and the answers were unclear. Would the galaxy embrace humanity as a new, powerful ally, or would it view Earth as a rogue threat, a planet teeming with potential yet fraught with peril? At the heart of the matter was humanity's unpredictable nature. The alien species that had visited Earth were wary, not because they had encountered any hostility, but because they couldn't quite determine humanity's true intentions. The survival instincts that had allowed humans to thrive on their dangerous world were not easily quelled by diplomacy or technology. They could not be easily categorized or controlled. In the days that followed, as Earth's representatives prepared their next steps, an uncomfortable truth began to settle in. Humanity's future in the galaxy was uncertain. No one knew if Earth would be welcomed with open arms, or if its entry into galactic politics would spark a new era of tension and conflict. But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer just a backwater species. They had risen from a planet that no one thought could support intelligent life, and now they stood at the threshold of a new era. One that could either see them join the galactic community or challenge it in ways no one was prepared for. The galaxy, with all its ancient civilizations, was about to face something entirely new, and Earth was the fulcrum upon which the future would tip. As the negotiations between Earth and the galactic powers continued, the situation became more and more tense. Humanity, caught in the midst of an intergalactic power struggle, had to navigate an incredibly delicate path. Every action, every word from Earth's representatives carried the weight of history, and the future of their species was at stake. In these discussions, nothing was certain. Whether humanity would be accepted into the galactic fold or pushed to the edges of the galaxy was still a matter of heated debate. Among the various alien species, the Droka were perhaps the most vocal in their concerns. These insectoid beings, towering and powerful, had long dominated their part of the galaxy. To them, Earth's sudden rise as a Class 13 Deathworld species was a potential disruption of the delicate balance they had carefully maintained. While they recognized the potential benefits of humanity's technological ingenuity and unyielding survival instinct, they saw humanity's past conquests as a warning sign. The Draka feared that a species shaped by constant conflict and danger might turn that same aggression outward, threatening the stability of the galaxy they had worked so hard to build. Meanwhile, the Silthar, sleek aquatic creatures who had long been pacifists, were far more welcoming. To them, humanity represented the ultimate symbol of resilience. The Silthar had known struggle too, but their species had evolved under the gentle sway of oceans and calm seas. They admired humanity's ability to adapt to an environment so hostile, and they believed that Earth's contributions could help unite the galaxy in ways the Silthar had only dreamed of. In the Silthar's eyes, humanity had the potential to bring a new perspective to galactic diplomacy, one built not on conquest, but on cooperation and innovation. As the factions clashed over humanity's future, the humans on the Council struggled to understand the complexities of their new role. They had learned quickly from the alien delegation that the galaxy was not a place for naive idealism. There was a balance of power, one that had existed for eons. The Galactic Council had been a bastion of peace, built upon centuries of treaties and alliances. Humanity, with its long history of wars, conquests, and survival in an unforgiving world, was not an easy fit. No one knew where humanity stood. Was it a new ally to be embraced, or a wild card that could upset the entire galactic order? For the first time in its history, humanity found itself in the position of needing to prove its worth on a galactic scale. The human diplomats, though skilled and resourceful, were still feeling their way through this new world of high-stakes politics. They had expected to be outsiders, but now Earth was thrust into the center of a massive debate, with the fate of their planet hanging in the balance. The human representatives on the Council soon realized that their survival instinct, honed over centuries of harsh conditions, was both a blessing and a curse. It had enabled humanity to endure and thrive, but it also made them a potential threat. The Draka's concerns were not entirely unfounded. Humanity had a history of expanding, colonizing, and even warring over resources. The idea of a species so adaptable, so relentless in its pursuit of survival, suddenly holding the power to travel the stars, was unsettling to many. What if they didn't see the galaxy as a peaceful realm to join, but as yet another environment to conquer? The question gnawed at the galactic leaders, who couldn't help but worry about the implications of humanity's ascent. Despite the opposition from more conservative factions, Earth's representatives pushed forward. They knew that the only way to prove humanity's worth was to demonstrate a commitment to the principles of peace and cooperation. They spoke passionately of humanity's desire not just to survive, but to help others survive, of how they had overcome the deadliest planet in the galaxy and were eager to share the lessons they had learned. Humanity wasn't just a species driven by the will to survive. It was a species that valued growth, innovation, and progress. Behind closed doors, Earth's leaders discussed a more radical solution. Humanity would not simply join the Galactic Council. Instead, they proposed a new path forward, one that would allow humanity to carve out its own place in the galaxy, outside the established power structures. It was a bold move, one that could either unite or further fracture the fragile galactic order. If humanity could demonstrate that it was more than just a survivor, that it could offer something new and different to the galaxy, perhaps they would find a way to earn a seat at the table. However, time was not on their side. The factions in the council were growing more polarized, and each day that passed without resolution increased the pressure on humanity. The other species began to make their positions clear. They would either have to accept the humans and their bold ambitions, or they would have to find a way to deal with a species that had the potential to reshape the galaxy in ways no one could predict. Humanity was now a central player in a game that had been unfolding for millennia. What had once seemed like a distant, impossible dream was now a reality. The question was no longer whether humanity could survive. It was whether they could thrive in a galaxy that might not be ready for the force of nature they had become. As the council deliberated, the fate of Earth and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. In their final report to the council less than 2 weeks before Lobach's death, the council left it open to discussion. The tension in the Galactic Council chamber had reached a boiling point. Debates about humanity's place in the galaxy were no longer theoretical. They were now deeply personal for those involved. With each passing day, the atmosphere grew more charged, and representatives from various species could no longer contain their concerns or their hopes for what humanity's integration into galactic society might mean. Earth, once a backwater world, was now a linchpin in the future of the galaxy, a future that seemed as uncertain as it was momentous. Humanity's representatives, aware of the stakes, had put forth a bold new proposal, a coalition of species that would allow Earth to create its own space within the galactic community. Rather than forcing humanity into the existing power structures, they suggested the formation of a new, independent alliance, one built on principles of survival, innovation, and collaboration. Earth's diplomats argued that humanity was not like any other species. It was a unique case, shaped by the most hostile environment in the galaxy, and therefore it required a unique response. At first, this proposal was met with disbelief. The idea of creating a new alliance, one outside of the Galactic Council's long-standing treaties and arrangements, seemed nothing short of revolutionary. The more conservative factions of the Council balked at the suggestion, arguing that such a move would fracture the delicate balance that had held for centuries. They feared that humanity, with its ambitious drive for survival and innovation, would not be content to simply coexist with the established powers. The idea of a species that had learned to thrive in a Class 13 Deathworld being handed such autonomy was, in their eyes, dangerously destabilizing. However, there were those who saw the proposal as an opportunity, a chance to harness humanity's unique abilities for the betterment of all. The Zilthar, who had long believed in cooperation and mutual support, were among the first to endorse the idea. They saw humanity's potential not just as a survival story, but as a beacon of what the galaxy could achieve if species worked together, overcoming their own inherent weaknesses for the sake of progress. The Zilthar, known for their ability to see the long-term benefits of diplomacy, argued that humanity's resilience could be a guiding force in uniting the galaxy's disparate peoples. They believed that a new alliance, led by Earth, could offer an entirely new model of cooperation, one based on overcoming adversity, not exploiting it. The Droka, on the other hand, remained staunchly opposed. Their species had built their empire through strength, through the assertion of dominance, and they viewed humanity's rise as a challenge to their position. They were not interested in negotiating with a species that had demonstrated time and again its ability to push the limits of survival and competition. To the Droka, humanity was a wild card, a dangerous force that could one day threaten their long-established order, and they recognized this risk to their order as a threat. It was the force that could one day threaten their long-established order. They lobbied fiercely against any recognition of Earth's autonomy, demanding that humanity either submit to the Council's existing framework or face isolation. As the debate wore on, a crucial turning point arrived. A sudden and unexpected crisis, an energy anomaly discovered in a distant sector of the galaxy, forced the Council to confront a hard truth. The existing power structures were no longer enough to address the increasingly complex challenges the galaxy faced. The anomaly, a massive energy surge emanating from a previously unexplored star system, threatened to destabilize several key star routes, endangering trade and communications across vast stretches of space. It was a problem that required both scientific innovation and a cooperative effort across species. But the old system of bureaucracy and slow-moving diplomacy was ill-equipped to deal with such an urgent threat. In a moment of unexpected unity, a decision was made. The Council would grant humanity the authority to take the lead on this crisis. Earth's scientists, who had already proven their ingenuity in surviving and thriving under the harshest conditions, were granted full access to galactic resources and the ability to form an emergency alliance with any species willing to cooperate. The Silthar, eager to collaborate, offered their expertise in energy manipulation, while the Draka, despite their misgivings, reluctantly agreed to provide their technological know-how on defense and fortification. The move was not without its risks. It was a calculated gamble, with the Council placing its trust in humanity's ability to handle the crisis without allowing their ambitions to spiral out of control. The fate of the galaxy, in a very real sense, rested on Earth's shoulders. But for humanity, it was a defining moment, an opportunity to prove that they could be more than just survivors. They could be innovators, problem solvers, and leaders. As Earth's teams worked in unison with their galactic counterparts, it became clear that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just their ability to survive. It was their capacity for rapid innovation, for creative problem-solving under pressure that set them apart. Within months, Earth scientists developed a new energy shield capable of neutralizing the surge from the anomaly. What had seemed like an impossible threat had been contained, and the galaxy's trade routes were secured once more. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council, though wary, was forced to acknowledge the undeniable truth: humanity had saved the galaxy. In doing so, they had shown that they were not just a species born from survival. They were a species capable of leading, of making bold decisions for the greater good. The new alliance, a fragile yet hopeful experiment, had proven that the galaxy could, in fact, be reshaped, not by dominance or force, but through cooperation and shared innovation. Earth's place in the galaxy was no longer a question of whether they would join the Council. It was a question of how the galaxy would learn to evolve with them. As humanity looked up to the stars, they knew the true challenge had only just begun. But for the first time in history, the galaxy was looking up at them too.